Hey, what's up, everybody? It's me, Danae, and I'm here with a message for you. So, happy Monday. It's March 30th, 2026. Crazy, right? Indeed. It's almost April. We have a full moon actually coming up April 1st. Just a FYI of cosmic news. And I have a quick reflection to share from my last message yesterday, which, if you didn't check it out, I definitely suggest and encourage that you do. At the end of the message, I pulled two of my cards, which I still have here. I can show you. Vitality was, I think that was on the top of the deck, and Revelation was the one that I pulled, right? And I realized after the fact that I didn't get a chance to share the tarot card that correlated with these cards. Each one is a direct correlation with one of the 78 cards in the traditional deck, on the upside and then on the adverse side, right? And when I double checked, because as I said in the message, sometimes I forget even what they mean because I don't use them as often as I should. I realized that Vitality is the Sun card and Revelation is the Ace of Swords. Okay, so first of all, keep that in mind. Consider the fact that when I stopped shuffling today, I had the Sun and the Ace of Swords. So that confirmed to me that I was just going to let it be and, let yesterday's message be what it was. But I felt like that was confirming to me that I needed to share the symbolism and the meanings of these cards. Of course, you can take them just at face value by the name and whatever message it channels, but it does actually have, each card does have that background connection. So what I felt like that was saying amidst a message that was directly in line with what I'm about to say, is that there's a confirmation that this serves as a confirmation of abundant life. The Sun card being, first of all, the Ace of Swords being the most affirmative card in the deck. We often, when we see that, it's like confirmation type of energy. And then the Vitality card, or the Sun card, is one of the most positive cards. And to me, that just screamed abundant life, especially again in connection to the overall message of the reading. And I feel like it's not just affirming abundant life as it is and as it shall be, but it's also going to bring a certain clarity and confirmation to the direct source of that abundance, and also exactly why, so that without a shadow of a doubt, you are clear as to why it is being assigned or passed down to you. So there's no, outside looking in, other folks might be wondering why you, or would you do to get this, or what makes you so special, or why are you so favored. But this privilege, this disbursement in spirit and in truth, in the material form, is going to be very clear to you, the source of this gift or offering, or privileged, favored circumstances, and also exactly why you are so privileged to receive it. All right, so now we can leave this message back there, I guess. All right, so, oh shoot, I forgot my water, man. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut the cards, and we will start fresh, hopefully, with a new message. I ain't mad at a part 2 of that, but I feel like I said, for the most part, okay, most of what I needed to say, or what needed to be said for that particular reading. But we can keep that same energy, because it was definitely positive. To me, it felt profound, and enlightening and empowering. So I'm always here for that frequency of message. Let's see, what time is it on the clock? 1:02 on the clock. We're going to get into it right now. So let's go. Ooh. Two of Pentacles. This bit in a struggle. So maybe there's some deep consideration, contemplation of balancing energy, balancing resources, managing, you know, your finances most practically, but also perhaps managing your time and your energy, maybe having a lot of things that need your attention, and feeling inclined to stretch yourself thin to get it all done or to attend to all these matters, maybe having a hard time resting, but being encouraged to do so. It's like when you have a whole lot of things on your plate, and in this case you may not even really be able to get to it all, but you feel almost guilty resting on it and being resolved to be at peace about it when there are matters at hand, you know, like you almost feel a little bit guilty or irresponsible even to just kind of like release it, like, you know what, I've done the most that I can do, or I've done all that I can up until this point, and the rest is just going to have to kind of work itself out. So there could be a struggle to resolve your energy and conserve your energy in that regard. But let's see what the message is for that. Oh, to have a good time. To celebrate whatever the consideration, dare I even say worry may be, as handled, released, already done. If it's a matter of financial juggling or struggling, declare your don't be irresponsible in the sense that you just go out, you know, just screwing up money with the idea that something miraculous will absolutely come and, you know, save the day. But I'm talking in terms of when, like I said, there's really not much more you can do beyond your control or beyond what you have the resources to manage. Not to allow yourself to be deflated by that, you know, to still see the beauty in life, enjoy yourself through whatever this transition may be to the best of your ability. And what I was going to say is, like, channel the energy of resolve and even success and celebration as if it already is. Don't allow yourself to wallow in what you don't have enough to do, or don't have enough time or energy or money to get done, or how many things require your attention that you just don't feel like you can get to, or maybe people, you know, maybe even yourself, you want to spend more time. This could even be a call for that as well, you know, almost feeling guilty to cater to yourself, to pamper yourself, to take care of yourself, to take time to rest, because how dare you do any of that when there are so many other things that need your attention. But it's really, to me, this is confirming that you are not only entitled to do this, you're encouraged to do so, and in the sense that it will actually enhance your circumstances to do the opposite of what your human inclination might be, to either worry or overextend, or, you know, overthink or stress or be fearful or anything of that sort. Like, just relax. Everything is under control. Even if it doesn't seem that way within your power of control, 107 on the clock, everything is under control. And that reduces to an 8, the infinity sign. It's like there's going to be enough to go around, perhaps miraculously so, but not because you were irresponsible to just, defer to that fantastical idea, but literally because you have the faith and the trust to believe that all that you can do is enough. All right, so let's see what else. Or all that you're doing, even presently, is enough. This is Aries season. It can be easy to like burn out, just on account of that over ambition to conquer the next thing after the next after the next. You could even have one situation managed or under control and create another obstacle for yourself that doesn't even need your attention at this moment. But you got the energy, you have the enthusiasm, the determination backed by this season. Also, it's no coincidence that I mentioned the full moon, which I believe is in Scorpio. So that's double release energy right there. I mean, when we have a new moon in Scorpio, it can almost act like a full moon. So a full moon in Scorpio, you don't want to over stress yourself. You don't want to put yourself in a position to be overly ambitious and what's the right word, like to overexert yourself in a transit that is compelling you to rest, to sit your ass down, let the energy kind of like settle and pass a bit, and take the opportunity to reflect and recover and regenerate in the meantime. Because sometimes you could get caught up in that ambitious drive and put yourself in harm's way, or just in a position to burn out, that would ultimately make it so that you then have to sit down and rest, and therefore may even miss an opportunity once there is clear way to do so, to take up some other moment of some other moment that has a greater appeal, that's something that would be even more ideal to funnel all of your energy and attention to. But because you pushed yourself to the limit, maybe to the point of exhaustion, and now you have to recover, that's the moment when you might find yourself stuck in the house when everybody else, or when you'd rather be outside, theoretically speaking. So something about that here. And then we got the 3 to the 4. Now with the 4 of Cups, it usually is a reflection of the past. Let me see what else is with this, because it could also work the other way around as well. Like when, well, I think I kind of said that, but like when you're feeling drawn to be out and about like everyone else, or like you feel the whole world is doing in some way. And then you realize like that really is not the move right now. This is the energy of not adhering to your intuition and to that inkling that says, no, you just need to sit here and chill, meditate, rest, reflect, rejuvenate. You don't need to do too much, your time will come to celebrate and have, you can cultivate that spirit of celebration without actually indulging in it per se, or doing anything active toward it. And I'm feeling drawn to say that could also be it for some, where it's like you'll have your moment, and when you have that moment of celebration, it'll be pure. There's a disparity between these 2 cards. This is a reflection for something that may not even have been well-serving, that somebody is looking back at and wishing they had, or wishing they could be a part of. Meanwhile, they're missing an opportunity right in front of their nose. And that opportunity in this case could be the divine nourishing you and nurturing you to just be still where you are. Bide your time, wait it out, And you'll have every reason and all the energy as well to have a celebration or enjoy yourself. Maybe even enjoy the fruits of your labor in a certain way that you might not be able to if you're all burnt out. And burnt out has different connotations in like urban slang. I mean, that really could mean like you've done too much. You know, you party too hard, you fraternize too much, you stretched, you wore your energy out in intimate ways. It could be more subtle than that, of course, but when I said burnt out, it spoke to me differently than just being tired or exhausted. Like, I heard burnt out as in, I don't know how the Urban Dictionary might describe it, but to me, like ran through for the streets type of energy. So I would leave that there, but I heard it, so I'm saying it. All right. Like, no good to yourself or anyone else at a certain point. So I mean that in the most practical sense, in the most actual sense. We got the 10 of Cups here. What was with this 10 of Cups? I feel like somebody could be mourning being a part of a group or being a part of some type of family dynamic. Maybe not mourning, but longing for being included in something. They may feel or have felt a bit isolated, maybe even cast out or rejected from something. Yeah, like outcast from some type of group. Let's see what's with it though. They may not realize, or it may have taken them a while to realize or to admit that this is for their greatest good, that it's best to be outside of this dynamic than it is to be a part of it. Yeah, now that I'm looking back at this, because if this is what they were a part of, like where the party is still going, but somebody is always finding themselves on this constant cycle of needing to recover, not like literally burnt out, giving up all their energy to this association, but never having much to show for it. And intuition telling them all along, like, this ain't for you, man. You need to get up out of there. And maybe them not listening until they have no other choice, or until something happens where, like I said, they have no other option but to recover, because something, eliminates them from the scene or from the dynamic, and or they get kicked out. One of the two. The Fool. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, that's what I'm getting. Like somebody's being forced to start over or start a new beginning somewhere. And like I said, the Fool, all things considered, is a pretty positive card, but the state of mind that someone may be in, again, this longing for acceptance or inclusion, may be what's keeping them from realizing that this is way more of a gift than a curse, way more of a blessing than a misfortune for them to be outcasted or, excommunicated or something, left out. Maybe somebody's circumstances have, you know how it is with fair weather friends, like when you got it and you on the same playing field as everyone else, or better, even worse, because there's opportunity to benefit from you. You got all the friends in the world, but somebody at a Two of Pentacles maybe is having fallen on hard times, maybe even has taken ill or having to recover from something that more or less is out of their control, and they're realizing like who and what they were actually surrounded by. You know, what seemed to be like this family, we all support each other, we, you know, ride or die type of dynamic may have proven to be the very opposite. And someone finding that out the hard way is now forced to like forge a new path on their own. And at first, that type of rude awakening, I'm sure, is very alarming, you know, pun intended, and unsettling. But again, it's more beneficial and more positive than what someone realizes, at least at first. Most people don't like the idea of being alone in life, or feeling on the outside of a societal embrace, whether that's society at large or the society that you surround yourself with. But just on the side note, whenever the universe initiates you onto a path of self-discovery, let alone spiritual reform or enlightenment, at least some part, if not a large portion of that path and that journey, is going to be a solo mission. And there's no way to control here with the Knight of Pentacles how long that takes, how deep it goes, how far it goes, how wide the terrain may be. You just kind of have to more or less surrender to it and resolve to trust the process, no matter where it takes you or how it feels, or what you long for of the past. Like, in many ways, you kind of have to just release the past altogether. And this may be in correlation with this full moon, as I said, like double emphasis on release and endings and laying things to rest and conclusions and resolve, and even deep psychological revelation. You know, if you're up for it, you know, if you're in the market for it, and particularly as I started the message about being confirmed for abundant life, this is usually the initiation of the path toward that confirmation. 9 times out of 10, you're going to go through a little dark night of the soul. Maybe not always, but up until this point, because Lord, I hope, I honestly do, that for my child, that path, he never has to know that path. You know, I hope that we can shave the learning curve some type of way, so at least it doesn't have to be so dark. You know, that's my prayer, not just for my son, but for the generations to come that have the access and the exposure to the type of guidance that maybe we didn't have, and the encouragement to you know, to accept your dark and your light aspects in harmony, you know, before you have to be confronted with that duality, in a way that ultimately, ends up being a lot less favorable and a lot more harsh, before it becomes harmonious. So anyway, I digress. Yeah, there's no way to really control, but the good thing about the Knight of Pentacles coming out on this side is that once it does, it's solid. Once it makes it to its destination, it gathers all the information, the resources, the experiences, the wisdom that was needed to get to a stable point of creativity. This is stable as opposed to the Two of Pentacles. It feels well worth it. It really does. Nobody, even I've said, if I had to do it all over again to get to a present point, I probably would, but nobody really wants to, you know what I mean? Like, nobody wants to cycle back around to, another lifetime or season of lessons that just are not the fun, fuzzy kind, usually. Like, nobody wants to do that unless you absolutely have to. But the Knight of Pentacles is saying that whatever the process is, whether this is foreshadowing or reflective, it'll be well worth it with the Knight of Pentacles. You'll come out of it with something of value. Even you will be refined in some way at that point. All right, so oh, wow, look at that. That is so confirming. My goodness. It's like the spirit, the divine will match that energy. That's what it's given. Pound for pound, really not pound for pound, because look at the difference in the size of these pentacles, but it will at least match that energy, and most times supersede it, like astound you as to how, like how rewarding it can be to follow, to do the thing, the less popular thing, or the least conventional thing in the highest frequency. So again, while everybody else is outside, maybe indulging in behaviors and activities and a lifestyle that is immediately gratifying, there could have been a delay in gratification, or that, this is the transport of sorts to a delay of gratification and a reroute of invested energy into something that really doesn't have a guarantee, at the point of decision and intention. You just have to go at it in faith, believing that there has to be more in store for me than what is in front of me to settle for. Even if it looks fun, even if it looks tempting, even if it looks like a quick fix, even if it seems like a conventional embrace, or a comforting space to be in, to be able to forfeit all of that and even refuse to indulge, again, for some undetermined end result or reward, is quite powerful of a choice to make. And with that is why I believe comes a great reward, one that you couldn't even really account for or predict, because you have no idea like how much that a decision such as that alone, and how you carry yourself and manage yourself through that processing, adds value to the divine agenda in the 3D. You could never know, and the only way to be somewhat affirmed by it is by the return and reward that you receive as a result. It's like the big payback is what I'm hearing. I think that's James Brown, right? The big payback. Somebody's name might be James, somebody's last name might be Brown. I don't know. Let's see what else we got. The big payback. I think he said something like, I don't do no damn stealing or wheeling, dealing. He's saying all types of stuff, but I just heard that. Yeah, something about the integrity of your mission, you know, maybe the mission through your so-called dark night of the soul, or your pathway to self-discovery and self-acceptance. Again, how you carried yourself through those ebbs and flows. A lot of the times, you don't often feel like you have all that you need. In many ways, financially, in support and understanding, and friendship. Again, as I said, that's when you realize, like, when you start to veer onto that path of self-discovery, a lot of people, places, and things diverge, you know, or maybe you diverge from them or it, who knows, but either way, there is a separation. And it's pivotal, you know, but how you manage that, again, Two of Pentacles is very key in many ways. Like, how you manage it makes all the difference, because you could choose to revert to the comforts of convention, and sometimes you can self-sabotage. You can overexert yourself out of fear and scarcity of any of those things that I mentioned, and end up burning yourself out in more ways than one. And then somehow that puts even more of a delay between this release from the divine, if it doesn't forfeit it altogether in some cases, where you just become so lost within yourself that you never quite find that point of alignment. So that's why I'm saying, like, for whatever discomfort or dissatisfaction someone may feel, either in the midst of this process or feeling like they have no other choice to follow it, whichever one, it still goes without saying that it's definitely more of a gift than anything. Because some people don't ever, either they never get the invitation, or they're never aware enough to recognize it. And so they continue to, again, cycle into these experiences that are ultimately deteriorating them slowly but surely. It's going in the opposite direction of abundant life, especially, you know, in terms of spiritual and mental and psychological wellness. Yeah, but it'll feel good in the moment. There'll always be that. But what has a greater value in the long run? Oh my goodness, look at this. Ace of Cups. Wow, this is going to be a short message. That's the anointed path that comes with the spoils, the gifts that are immeasurable. Like, here you are with your one little pentacle as a Knight of Pentacles. And maybe just the hope of that much was enough to keep you focused and driven and determined to see it through. But you couldn't even imagine the magnitude of what the divine has in store. Here it is, the abundant life right here. Not just in spirit, but actually in truth, in flesh, in material form. So I guess it was, you know, confirming. Then oh my God, I literally just gave the message that I said. I said, this is going to happen more personally to your life, you know, specifically. But I said that not only are you going to know the source of this abundance or disbursement, you're also going to know exactly why you are in alignment to receive it. I just told you why. This is and I also give me saying why, and the end result is also giving way to what it takes for those that may either be resistant to the call or the pathway, or just starting out or what. So it's something for everybody here, like just how rewarding it is on the other side of this rainbow. Here you are. So it's just much more valuable to be initiated into that season of sacred solitude, whatever it may be, than it is to be a part of the crowd, as tempting as it is. And that could be family that love you, that could be friends that like being around you and love your time and energy, at least, especially as it benefits them, but not even so, my nail just cracked a little bit. Hold on. Not even so, so in such a negative light, because friends could, 1:33 on the clock, friends could absolutely have a love for you too, but they may not understand the path that you have embarked on, or the path you're feeling called to. And they also, most times, family and friends can't really help you when you're answering that call. It's a very singular and individual experience, one way or another. And part of the struggle to manage your energy and time is exactly that, knowing how and if and when to conserve yourself for focus on your path, and whether or not there is allowance for you to share yourself, because sometimes you gotta go cold turkey. Sometimes it calls for that. And try explaining that to your family and friends that don't have any clue or any point of reference for what you feel guided to do. It'd be hard to do so, but there's always, the glimmer of hope for your faith that maybe a reconciliation could be underway, once you have been processed appropriately by the divine. Or that, whatever path you find yourself on after the fact, or whatever presence you find yourself in, void of those frequencies that were familiar, is just the new normal for you. That one is up to you and you're supreme to settle upon. But one thing's for sure is that the reward is great for those that are not afraid to answer the call and see it through. (1:35 on the clock now. All right, so let's see what else. I don't even know what else to say. This pentacle could be, again, money. It could be an opportunity that brings money, or an advancement in how you make money. Could be a windfall, could be a gift. Again, that's just passed down to you that you weren't necessarily even anticipating, or in a magnitude that you weren't expecting. Ace of Cups could be love. It could be a relationship. It could be some type of delivery of new life, like a child, or just like a new business, a new you. What else? Definitely heavy on like that confirmation and affirmation of your purpose. Not just how the past has transported you to the present, but also affirming how you get to move forward as well. And that that depth of security is worth more than gold, honestly. To go through life feeling affirmed that you're doing the right thing, you can trust yourself to make the right moves and decisions that are best for your life and that bring the most joy, the most profit and prosperity, good health, good wealth, you're in the right alignment. Like, that is really a happily ever after scenario, because that's something that that level of prosperity, as I said, abundant life, doesn't just stop with you. It permeates everything that you create. It's infectious to those that are in your auric field. It can be passed on like an inheritance, even the mindset of abundant life. As I was saying, with my son, like, what I pray for and the way that I am raising him is to be accepting of all aspects of himself and to find an understanding of himself now, not having to, as he's growing, and going, but to kind of guide his his experiences to glean as much wisdom from them as he can possibly understand in the present tense, so that he doesn't have to grow up, in his 30s and 40s and undo a whole or recondition himself in a way that, again, takes much more time away from the enjoyment, the exuberance of life, when you have to go at it the hard way, as opposed to learning along the journey and, gaining that wisdom almost ahead of your time. That's my prayer for him. So again, that's the type of energy that can be passed down, passed forward, paid forward. It's an overflow. It's an overflow. And of course, I feel that is the master plan of the divine, to have more of that be prevalent in the 3D again, so that we don't have to keep recycling karmic conditioning that is really not progressive or advancing for any of creation in the long run. Who says suffering has to be the way to learn? Maybe there's an opportunity to break the mold on that. That's my prayer. That's my intention, for my son to literally have to suffer the least he possibly can in his life for the sake of learning, to live in the light, even with acceptance of his shadow. There needs to be a harmony between those aspects for him to live the fullest abundant life that he possibly can. And that's my intention to see. Wow, with another ace. I mean, the only ace we're missing is the Ace of Swords, which I started with, the Ace of Swords and the Sun. Sheesh. My goodness. What's on the bottom? The Queen of Wands. Oh my goodness. This is like some supreme empowerment here. Because it's like, how to, as the Queen of Wands, and it not being a king is significant to me, because it's like, how to conduct, well, let's say, how to be conducive to supreme power, and how to conduct it. So it's like you have the vessel, the capacity, like the divine is entrusting creation in many ways with their full capacity of power and creativity. It's like, here you go, now you manage it. Now on the highest frequency, you could do a lot of good, because you would have flushed out a lot of the contaminants and the what's the right word, like the taintings to the psyche, back to this full moon, or you are in the process of doing that would inhibit you from creating for the greatest good of all. In the lowest frequency, you'd have free range to inflict your power and your force in whatever way, contaminants alike, or contaminant infused. And what that would ultimately do now is also be a self-affliction, where that's the glitch in the matrix as it is now, unbeknownst to some, is that whatever you manifest or enact is personal to you, good, bad, or indifferent. So if you choose not to use your power at all, that choice is also a self-infliction, where nothing will happen for you if you resolve that you're not powerful, or you don't have the right, or you're overstepping your bounds, or that's not reserved for you. Like, look at all of this God energy here between the aces. Imagine for you to just reject, here it is, the 4 cups again, to reject that gift of authority, of access, of privilege, for the sake of being afraid to do something wrong or out of order with it. The Queen of Wands in this case with the Ace of Wands, it's a beautiful blend and balance, because it's like, I'm going to take the direction, in stride. I'm going to take heed from the divine, however I'm feeling guided, led, directed, inspired, hell, sometimes even pushed. I'm going to respond, in submission to that. And I'm also not, but that also doesn't negate the power that I've been entrusted with to create in all of those dynamics and in all of those situations and in any space that I enter. It's a beautiful harmony there. A strong, powerful force when passion is put to work in a pure sense, not perverted, not trying to hurt somebody else or take away from somebody else for your personal gain, but literally using the best of your ability and your intentions, your resources, your intellect, your emotional intelligence, your intuition, literally your kinetic force, and also your creativity to invest the absolute best that you can to the world, to manifest through your being the absolute best case scenario for creation, as best as you can within your power. Nothing more, nothing less, but within your will of power to do so. That's what's being green lighted in this season. But again, emphasis on not burning yourself out in the positive sense in this case, and the other sense as well too. But don't burn yourself out. Don't take on any more. Don't overexert yourself feeling like you got to heal the world, or even heal your, the mass, your immediate community per se. Is really about just taking the best of what you have and doing the most with it. Nobody's asking you to save the world. Not even the divine is asking for that. So that weight can be lifted off your shoulders to the point where you can actually have some fun and actually enjoy this part of the journey. Like, enjoy your creative sovereignty at this point. Let it be a privilege and really like a sense of satisfaction, as opposed to, like a burden, or like a stark responsibility, like I gotta do this. No, that's not the spirit of creativity that the divine really gets to work with. Confidence for sure, boldness, self-assuredness, all of that, but fun. Don't forget the fun. If the Queen of Wands ain't nothing out of all the other queens, she knows how to have a good time. Not with the burnout though. She ain't gonna be burnt out when it's all said and done in any way, shape, or form. She's going to be able to be regenerated and rejuvenated, because as a mature queen, You're not going to give too much of yourself up, especially to places, spaces, people, and things that don't even have the capacity to receive it, and maybe don't even want to. It's about being particularly discerning and selective with how you invest your energy, as supreme as it is confirmed here by the Ace of Wands. 1:47 on the clock. All right, so I'm going to leave it there. This is it's concise, not many cards, but I hope that the power has been transmitted effectively, because I'm talking to someone that you can manifest that will. You think it is so. You speak it is so. You believe in it. You invest your energy in others, and they are so. So even be mindful of what you invest in, who you invest in. This conduction of energy here is so significant, because like I said, it's about being guarded and having boundaries about what you allow yourself to align with, but also even more so than anything, because you wouldn't want that to be tainted or depreciated or diminished, but also how you point that wand of yours is it makes all the difference. Your presence alone could bring things to life, or resurrect things, or fuse new energy, generate new energy into things that may or may not be conducive for it. So although there's great responsibility with this power, like I said, there should be even more celebration and enjoyment. Like, I want to say indulge, but because that's also wand energy as well, but indulge kind of has a negative connotation. But let me see real quick. Let me see what's another word for indulge. Revel in it, maybe. Let's see. Indulge. Satisfy. Revel in. Yep, revel. Enjoy. Simply put, enjoy. Enjoy yourself is the invitation here. Heavy on that, because sometimes when there's work, like, I'm not going to say it's not great responsibility here. It is, because this is a lot to manage, big energy. But enjoy it. Enjoy yourself the way a fool, maybe even a child, does, when you don't even realize, or at least you don't allow the circumstances at hand to hamper your experience. I mean, what would the privilege be and the favor be for if it wasn't to also enjoy? So work hard and play hard. Maybe that's the Two of Pentacles balance that I was trying to get to all along. All right. Anyway, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Until next time, as always, I'll leave you with peace.